Let's take a look at UK politics now.
Why don't we? You're in charge, yes.
Labour's candidate for the Rochdale by-election has been forced to apologise after he was caught making controversial remarks about the war between Israel and Hamas.
Yeah, this was in a secret recording obtained by the Mail on Sunday, and in it, Azhar Ali is heard saying that Israel had allowed, yes, allowed, that deadly attack by Hamas gunmen on October the 7th.
Still here with us is TalkTV's chief political correspondent, Peter Cardwell, and also Anne McElvoy, host of podcasting Politico Europe. Good morning to you both.
Hello.
And let's start with you. For anyone who isn't familiar with what happened, what comments were made and why is this a real problem for the Labour Party?
Well, I think what that Mail on Sunday story highlighted was that Azhar Ali not only had been caught out previously or had been overheard to say some pretty dubious things about Israel, but that in this case, he'd really crossed that line into an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, which is that Israel had in some way known or had pre-knowledge of that attack on October the 7th, such that it could have prevented it, but chose not to in order to be able to go into Gaza and conduct the military activity, which is now underway. And of course, there was no way that anyone could have known this when he was originally put up for selection, other than that perhaps his views had been going the rounds locally. But now it's pretty undeniable that these were views that he held and stepped really so far over the line to espouse that this has become a major embarrassment for the Labour Party, who are still saying they can't drop him so close to that by-election later in the month.
And you make a great point, Pete. They can't drop him, but this is money for old rope for every other party that's standing in Rochdale, and a nightmare for Starmer, because all that effort and all that, you know, we threw it out there this morning and asked people, you know, do you think that anti-Semitism is... Let me just read this to you from somebody. It says, anti-Semitic views appear and reappear with predictable regularity within the Labour Party. It is an endemic, a historical legacy of a have or have not mentality. The Labour legacy is that Semites are held to be overly conspicuous amongst the haves. I don't know what that means, but I would say this, right, absolutely. It is the last thing Starmer wants, and the Tories and other people should be jumping on this, shouldn't they?
Yeah, your texter is talking about the old trope, the old cliche that the Jewish people are rich and powerful in our society, which is just another bit of anti-Semitism, as well as what Azhar Ali said, which is worth repeating, actually. The Egyptians are saying that they warned Israel 10 days earlier. This is 10 days earlier than the 7th of October attack. This is all nonsense, by the way. This is all lies.
It's a conspiracy.
A complete conspiracy theory. The Egyptians are saying that they warned Israel 10 days earlier. Americans warned them a day before that there's something happening. They deliberately took the security off. They allowed that massacre that gives them the green light to do whatever they bloody want. Absolute nonsense. And Labour are in a really tricky position now because he's on the ballot. He can't not be on the ballot.
Why is that the case? Talk to me.
Well, you have a nomination process.
Yeah.
You are nominated to be a parliamentary candidate, and that's it.
I'm going to say something that's probably not. I'm probably going to say something that's not in the script. So all of you forgive me. Let's say a candidate, an unnamed candidate, standing in a by-election, 24 hours, 48 hours before that, gets found that he's arrested for rape, or something terrible happens. What, that person can't be removed from the ballot?
Yes, well, in America, you've had dead people being elected. For example, people have died during the point that they're nominated.
And they still get elected?
Yes, they get elected, and then you've got to have what's called a special election in America, or a by-election in this country, and this is actually in a by-election in Rochdale, 29th of February. But it's fascinating. Labour are in an interesting position. So Kier Starmer, and I think we can give him credit for this, over the past 4 years has tried to eradicate the stain of anti-Semitism.
I think we should give him massive credit, but it obviously hasn't gone.
That flourished under Jeremy Corbyn, but it's still there in what Azhar Ali has said and other people have said. But now, Labour, because Azhar Ali is on the ballot, they're in a position of having to back him. They have to say, well, he's given a full apology. I'll read it out in a second. He's given a full apology, therefore he is the candidate and he should be the next MP.
Anne, listening to that, how much of a challenge is this? Because Kier Starmer is left with no other option but to be supportive of this candidate currently.
Well, the big problem for me arises when he gets elected, which is going to happen. So it's not like he goes away. I mean, I think Peter's absolutely right in what he lays out, and it's how could they've got to this point. And to answer Jeremy's question, the only way, as I understand the rules, if a candidate runs into some kind of trouble, whatever it is unless they are actually shown to have broken the law, is for them to step aside themselves. That clearly hasn't happened. And I think it's an interesting question how much pressure was or was not put on Mr. Ali to do so. Anyway, they've decided to go another way. So what happens when he gets into Parliament? One thing that I think we can say in fairness, Keir Starmer has really tried to do is stamp out or push back those voices on the Labour backbenchers who are often seen to have views a bit closer to a lot of the base, too much for comfort in some ways for the Labour leader. Well, it looks now whether or not he's apologised for this. These are the views that he held, and they're views that don't tend to go away overnight just because you get elected to Parliament. And I think that is the real problem for Keir Starmer. It's unlikely that this set of views is going to simply go away because this embarrassment has got over and he's been elected.
And can I just very quickly, because we'll read out the apology with Pete, can I just say, you're telling me, both of you, that he's on the ballot. Is this not a seminal moment, though? This could be a game changer, not only for the Tory party, but also actually an opportunity for Starmer to absolutely prove his credentials and do whatever he has to do to get this anti-Semite off that ballot box as the leader of the opposition, and the polls will say potentially our next Prime Minister. And isn't this a moment where Starmer could show he's got a pair, to be honest?
Well, that's your phrase. I wouldn't use it. But I mean, I think it is a moment when Keir Starmer, I think, has been faced with the consequences, if you like, of his own push to clean out anti-Semitism from the party, and it's collided with a by-election schedule that he feels uncomfortable. And I think the other reason, by the way, we're passing over here is he doesn't really want to intervene and cause what could be a kind of ethnically tinged row about this election. I would guess that that is also in the background here. So yes, I mean, I completely understand your logic, but I imagine from Keir Starmer's point of view, he's thinking if he rides in on this, he gets a Muslim backlash not only in the constituency, I shouldn't say all Muslims at all by any means, but there will certainly be a base of those who support Mr. Ali and would not like to see him removed. I guess that has been the calculation that Keir Starmer has made, whether you agree with it or not.
And we should be clear that there has been an apology.
Yep.
Peter, you've got it for us.
Yep. This is Azhar Ali, the Labour Party candidate for Rochdale, who says, I apologise unreservedly to the Jewish community for my comments which were deeply offensive, ignorant and false. Hamas's horrific terror attack was the responsibility of Hamas alone, and they are still holding hostages who must be released. October the 7th was the greatest loss of Jewish life in a single day since the Holocaust, and Jews in the UK and across the world are living in fear of rising anti-Semitism. I will urgently apologise to Jewish leaders for my inexcusable comments. The Labour Party has changed unrecognisably under Keir Starmer's leadership. He has my full support in delivering the change Britain needs. I think it's worth mentioning that whilst this is a full and frank apology, he's made it because he's been found out. Well, and he's also, I mean, he's talking about the Jewish community. There are lots of people, I'm not Jewish, I'm offended by what he said.
I agree, and you made a really salient point, I thought, and I said that about, you know, has Starmer, is this an opportunity for him? But then from a local point of view, Anne, if you are a Labour supporter, do you want to support somebody who seemingly can flip-flop from conspiracy theory to actually that was all false and fake and I shouldn't have said it in 24 hours, for, as Peter said, the reason that has been found out. And then you've got George Galloway, who is standing, so I think it's the Workers' Reform Party, the infamous George Galloway.
Workers' Party of Britain.
Workers' Party of Great Britain, with a strong Palestinian base, and you talked about the Muslim. It's a bit of a tinderbox for Starmer, this, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's not such that it's likely to cost the seat. So in terms of raw arithmetic, I suppose he could argue that this is better to just move on from this. And clearly that statement that you showed there looks very much, even the language, you know, I've done a lot of interviews with senior Labour people, Kier Starmer, David Lammy, etc., as the Shadow Foreign Secretary and leader. It's clear that this is language that they use, and I think was given to the candidate to read out.
I think Alan's right. I don't think he wrote it.
Yeah. To be candidate. But yeah, I mean, I think it's bad, and I think some Labour voters will stay home. I have to say, to be a bit realistic about this, a lot of voters will say this is an argument about something that doesn't touch my life on a daily basis.
Yeah, of course.
It really, you know, it's something that's very important, so I don't want to talk it down at all. And you're right to give it the attention you're giving it on this programme. But a lot of people will be saying, I just want to get the Tories out and I'll vote for Labour. You know, they'll vote about put up a donkey with a red rosette on it. Well, in this case, you know, they do seem to at least manage that. I'll let that metaphor just hang there.
Anne, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. Thanks, Pete.
We should.